weakest link. Okay, team, voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
James.
Karen.
James.
Karen.
Karen.
John, remind us what you do.
I'm a funeral director and embalmer.
Why Karen?
She's outlived her usefulness.
James, why Karen?
I think that over the long run, that eliminating Karen would be beneficial for the team.
Did you think she was the weakest link?
I did indeed.
Statistically, she wasn't, of course.
I know that, but I think that having me on this team for the next couple rounds will prove better for the team than having Karen.
James, top of his class, he tells us, was the weakest link. But it's votes that count. With 3 votes, you are the weakest link. Bye.
I'm not very happy about being voted off at this point in the game. I feel that I should have been kept on at least for another round since I statistically wasn't the weakest person on that team. I think James should be the next one voted off. He's 18, he's still in high school. He doesn't have the vocabulary, he doesn't have the background, he doesn't have the education. He doesn't deserve to be there any longer.
Round 5, team, you banked $46,000 out of a possible $500,000. I obviously need to remind you the fastest way to reach that target is to create a chain of 8 correct answers. If you get a question wrong, you break the chain and lose all the money in that chain. But if you say bank before your question is asked, the money is safe. However, you start a new chain. Remember, only money banked will be carried over to the next round. So, 4 of you left, another 10 seconds coming off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Renee. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Renee, which actress is married to Ally McBeal creator David E. Kelly?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Correct, James. In sports, which city is host to horse racing's Kentucky Derby?
Louisville.
Correct, Mary. What is the name of the U.S. Navy's 6-jet precision flying team?
The Blue Angels.
Correct, John. In movies, which Japanese filmmaker directed the movie Rashomon?
Kurosawa.
Correct, Rennie.
Bank.
What T is the interactive robotic toy dog manufactured by Tiger Electronics?
Hoochie.
Correct, James. Modern U.S. dimes are made of nickel and which other metallic element?
Copper.
Correct, Mary. In nature, heroin and opium are derived from the seed pods of which type of flower?
Poppy.
Correct, John.
Bank.
In fashion, which New York socialite's designer Dean label featured a swan as an emblem?
Gloria Vanderbilt.
Correct, Renee. In television, which comic duo did Michael McCain and David L. Lander play on Laverne and
I don't remember.
Lenny and Squiggy? James. Which camera introduced by Eastman Kodak in 1900 was originally sold for $1?
35mm camera.
Brownie. Mary. In music, which R&B girl group went multi-platinum in the US with the top 10 album Funky Divas?
Don't know.
On Vogue. John. How many squares are on playing surface of a standard chessboard?
36.
64. Rennie. Meaning house of bread in Hebrew, which town is believed to be the birthplace of Jesus Christ?
Nazareth.
Bethlehem. James. What F is a strategy used in the U.S. Senate to delay or prevent voting on proposed legislation?
Filibuster.
Correct, Mary. Time is up. You banked $15,000, and that money will go through to the next round, but one of you will not. Whose mind is too small to be let out on its own? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
This time, James is the strongest link, having answered the most questions correctly. Renee is the weakest link statistically, even though she banked the most money for the team. But will the others have noticed?
Okay, voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
James.
John.
Renee.
James.
John. So James is dead in the water.
As far as I'm concerned,
Why?
I just think he needs to go back to school.
Mary, why James?
I think he's out of his league at this point.
Statistically, the worst player was Renee. She went from strongest link to statistically weakest link in 1 minute 50 seconds. But she survived. James, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Having me walk the walk of shame was absolutely ridiculous. Renee had the worst percentage of all the contestants in that last round. I don't see why she wasn't voted off.
Round 6, you've banked $61,000 so far out of a possible $625,000. There are 3 of you left, another 10 seconds coming off the clock, but remember, only money banked can be carried over. You voted off the strongest link from the last round, so we'll start with the second strongest link. That's you, John. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. John, by what professional name was film legend Julius Marx better known?
Groucho Marx.
Correct. Renee, in business, what table salt company features an image of a girl with an umbrella on its package?
Skill.
Morton. Mary, on television's Frasier, which actress plays physical therapist Daphne Moon?
I don't know.
Jane Leeves. John.
Yeah.
In holidays, which U.S. federal observance occurs on the last Monday in May?
Memorial Day.
Correct. Renee. Named for its creator, what M is a type of bed that folds up inside a wall or closet?
Murphy.
Correct. Mary. In professional tennis, which is the only Grand Slam event currently played on clay?
Wimbledon.
The French Open. John. In movies, Oprah Winfrey starred in the film adaptation of which Toni Morrison book?
The Color Purple.
Beloved. Renee, in medicine, which Latin term describes the stiffening of muscles after death?
Rigor mortis.
Correct. Mary. The day after the 1948 presidential election, the Chicago Daily Tribune ran what inaccurate headline?
Dewey wins.
No, Dewey defeats Truman. John.
Bank.
In literature, who wrote the definitive beat novel titled On the Road?
I don't know.
Jack Kerouac. Renee, in beverages, what G is an Italian brandy distilled from post-pressed grape residue?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that,
In
please?
beverages, what G is an Italian brandy distilled from post-pressed grapes residue?
Galliano.
Time is up. The correct answer is grappa. You managed to bank a magnificent $0 in that round. Now, in round 7, you get the chance to double what you bank. That requires you to have banked something in the first place. Potentially, there's $250,000 to be won. The question is, who's passed their best? Who is not up to scratch? For whom does the bell toll? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
At this vital stage of the game, Mary is the weakest link. She is the only player to get all of her questions wrong. For the 3rd time this game, Renee is statistically the strongest link, but it's the votes that will ultimately decide.
Only 2 of these 3 people will move on to the final round. One more player will take the walk of shame when we return to the weakest link.